4 seconds. So, EXN, Ex Nihilo. Latin, I believe. Also probably mispronouncing that as well. There's a lot of names in this game I will mispronounce.
But it does mean from nothing, I believe.
Yes.
I didn't study Latin. Somebody told me that. So.
Well, you could have just faked out everyone right there.
To be honest, though, I've been living in a different country for so long that I've learned knowing 2 words doesn't kind of fake out that you know something.
Yeah, I know Latin.
My German is not good enough to fake it over here. I can say like 2 words, but then somebody says a sentence in return, and I'm like, uh-oh. But a lot of bans have come out very quickly.
Yeah, in a short space of time. Kalista, Sivir, and LeBlanc will be the bans from Ex Nihilo. And then Ryze, Alistair, and Azir. Talked about how Ryze will just have to be banned all the time by Red Side from DNL. And the first pick will be Gragas.
Yeah, so a lot happening here. A lot of it is fairly consistent. Interesting that you'd see both Kalista and Sivir banned away from the side of Ex Nihilo, as typically you'd expect an Urgot to be very high priority following that, but they didn't actually look to lock that in. Chudup is a player that does prefer scaling AD carries. You're looking at the likes of a Jinx, has not actually played Urgot yet in the CS qualifier, so that remains to be seen as it falls down. Rek'Sai is still available, as you can see. Denial flicking around. Wicked not likely to pick Malphite here. Sorry, Maokai, because he will normally pick Malphite up in that top lane role. Irelia and Malphite are the 2 that he is kind of flicked between. Did play Hecarim as well in the qualifier already.
In
so
one
those,
game, I believe,
yeah, those are the champions that typically he would look to pick.
Yeah, played a lot of Malphite. Definitely sticking towards that champion. Has been on that one for a while now. But we do have the first 2 lock-ins. Weighted down the time all the way. Will be Janna for the bottom lane, picking up the support and just going for the jungle as well. So Johnny as well. Seeing a little bit less of that, but will be picked up against the Gragas. So now we have the 2 tank junglers just sitting there. But we haven't seen any of the big playmakers yet. No one has picked their solo lanes just as of yet.
Not yet. Speaking of solo laners, though, there is a bit of a name change has gone on over in the Ex Nihilo setup. Godzuki used to be known as Godbro. So for those of you watching that are like, who's Godzuki? It's Godbro. So a lot of experience coming out there. Another former LCS player on these lineups. So all the way down the line, a lot of players with lots of experience on both sides of the rift. But the Sejuani and the Janna that has been picked up by Denial, again, a little bit of distance on exactly what they want to do. One wants to disengage, the other wants to engage. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the team fights. There's Ex Nihilo lock into team fighting champions fairly quickly for themselves. They lock in the Hecarim, will give them the engage. Lulu will give them some security, and that's still a flex. Could go down to the bottom lane support role. We saw that out of SK in the last week's LCS. It still could be mid. Yeah, and Zaz has just been playing a whole lot of Hecarim, and he's been doing that for months now. Like, you'll remember at the very end of the last split, he was playing a bunch of Hecarim. Didn't do too well. But then, now that he's been coming back into the qualifiers, he's been doing great with the Hecarim. So we'll see if he can actually do well in this game. Now he's facing harder and harder teams now, especially against Denial, who will give him a run for his money when he plays against Wicked, that LCS tier top laner, and Lulu as well, as you mentioned. We do have the Narlock in though, so we know what this matchup is going to be. And that's interesting because Wicked hasn't yet played in the qualifiers. We know clearly he's got it in his playbook, played it with Elements, I believe, in the spring split of LCS, so certainly not too much of a surprise. But when you take into account that he generally defaulted to Malphite, actually had 3 games played of Malphite in the qualifiers and the game of Hecarim. Different style champion for him. Now you've got to get into your ultimate form to be able to get that engaged, not having the unstoppable force. But Mr. Rales locking in Corki is an interesting one, because as we said, we'd expect Urgot right now. I'm assuming Chudup is looking for a Jinx here for some extra scaling for this lineup. It would go along well with the Lulu that has already been picked up, but Ex Nihilo may be a little thrown off by this very different AD carry that has a different scaling pattern to what you'd normally expect picked up here. Yeah, it's also interesting because we saw the very early Janna, which would actually be great right now on Ex Nihilo, but that was picked up very early from Denial, so maybe just trying to take them away, knowing that Chudup would go for a late game AD carry. You even just straight up called the Jinx there as well. There's the Diana coming in, so that'll most likely be in the mid lane there. So they have the full composition now. What do Denial do to respond? That Diana is quite curious, because that's a blind Diana into mid lane. Now, yes, there are a couple of mid lane champions that had tweaks and changes, but Kozq, we know he likes to play assassins like the Ahri, played it so much in the last split. Is Echo down his street? He's an Akali player, and there's a little bit of crossover when you look at champion playstyles, so perhaps it's in his playbook, but I wonder how Diana does in that matchup. There's a lot available for Kozq to look for here. Unless he wants to play the Corki mid, maybe they were looking as that as a flex, but that's, I would not really assume that. Now they get this counter pick onto the Diana. I would expect an Ahri or something like that here.
Yeah, I did speak to Kozq about Akali, but I'll touch on that if he eventually locks it in. I don't think he's going to here. He will just go for a Cassiopeia. I know he's been playing a lot of that recently, so we'll be picking up that one there, and that will be going into the mid lane. So we will have the Cassiopeia versus Diana matchup. Going to be pretty brutal for the Diana early on.
Yeah, and that's the very strange thing about this Diana getting picked up so early, is you're now basically showing your entire hand and you're saying, I now have to forgo my laning phase.
Yeah.
I have to kind of end up in a tough 1v1. And we know Kozq likes his 1v1s. The key thing for now for Ex Nihilo is they got teleport onto Diana, so they will have a lot of map control just in general when you look at the engage potential and the peel that Jinx is going to have here as well. You've got Lulu, you've got a Gragas to ultimate people away, Diana to dive the enemy backline. So Ex Nihilo have a lot on their plate. Denial on the other side of things, they've got good scaling to complement the Corki. They've now got a Cassiopeia on top of that as well, and a Na for that follow-up engage.
Yeah, both teams have all the tools for what they need, I believe.
Yeah. Well, we nearly got onto the Rift very quickly.
I did not catch that. But both teams have exactly what they, all the tools that they need for how they want to close out this game. Chudo kind of just staying to what he knows with the scaling. Diana, you're going to see how confident he is with that. But as we do get into the game, remember to jump on Twitter, use that hashtag vote with EXN win and DNL win to get your votes in for who you think will take home this match. And we will be checking in throughout the game and throughout the series on who you guys think will be taking this one. Yeah,
we will, because this is a super hype game, so I'm expecting a lot of tweets about this one.
A lot of familiar faces from both sides.
Yeah, they really are when you look at the lineups. But enough of that. Let's see how the teams play out here in this first game of this best of 3.
All right, getting on to the Rift here with Ex Nihilo and DNL eSports. Wicked up in the top lane there against Zazas. Impaler in the jungle. See Kozq, Mr. Rales back from the LCS. Noxiac as well in from MYM. Chewed up. There's star-studded lineups left and right. Nice to see. And Godbro, of course, back into this mid lane. Sometimes you see when people change their names, they go far from what they had. Godbro didn't change too much. Just kind of got the second part of his name changed a little there. But very bold pick. Went for the Diana before the Cassiopeia. And Kozq, we'll see if he can actually punish his opponent. Because remember last split, he was very confident against a lot of his mid lane matchups. And to his credit, in those one-on-ones, he was very good. But it's when you started putting outside influences then where the struggles started happening.
Oh, definitely. And that was one of the tough parts about facing Origin in the finals, if you remember, for Copenhagen Wolves Academy. Is Kozq could never get rolling. Ever. It was so difficult for him to really get anything done. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he can do with a completely different team. Because it does change a lot of the dynamic here in Challenger now. They've changed the team. Copenhagen Wolves Academy is different. Denial now trying to qualify. Kozq gave up a secured spot to play with Denial to try and qualify back in. Got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely puts a lot of favor in this lineup from Wicked. Hand-picked in this mid lane, but everyone has placed down their initial wards, mainly just in the river. There was a little bit of an aggressive ward in from Wicked, which will give him vision over the start from Impaler. Impaler actually starting on the bottom side of the map here, so they won't be able to stop him immediately. This is an interesting position, though, by Wicked. He's actually sitting behind the minion
He's cutting
line.
the wave. So he's cutting the wave in so that he can get the wave to bounce away. This is going to deny a lot of the experience, or some of the experience now, as only 2 minions have died here. As actually, Hecarim did manage to do the camp.
No, he didn't.
Hecarim actually do anything on that camp? I didn't manage to catch that quite in time. So
Huh.
Xaxis may end up behind on experience because I didn't quite catch that before it happened, but it looked like Godbro actually managed to finish the rest of the camp. So it does hit level 2 off 1 minion being in lane.
Yeah, very interesting. So yeah, he got a small amount of experience, but didn't completely finish it off, so didn't get the immediate level 2. We'll see how this affects him over the course of the laning phase. Wicked has this large minion wave coming in now, so we'll see how this works out. But now Xaxis can't do a whole lot for the next 10-20 seconds.
Yeah, so this is the other product that it does, is because he shoved it in, the wave bounces all the way back to the turret, and now it's less about the experience, more about the fact that Wicked can just kind of get the wave in a position that he wants it to. I think it actually may have bounced a little too far for Wicked's liking when it comes to things, but it depends on how he kind of ends up balancing the wave for himself. I'm very interested in this 2v2, because one of the things about knowing a player for quite as long as we have with Chewed Up is that we know both his strengths and his weaknesses, and while he tends to be fairly good at getting a lead in lane when it comes to getting a CS lead, sometimes the actual engages in bottom lane positioning can become a problem, and it does start to creep up. If you die once in lane, you end up kind of snowballing out away from him. So honestly, if Ex Nihilo can take good trades like this, they're in for a strong game.
Well, I think the big question is whether Noxiac can maybe cover up some of those weaknesses, because, well, he's an ex-LCS player. He has a lot of experience under his belt, and if he can cover up those weaknesses from Chewed Up, then that's just a straight-up solid bottom lane. And already against Mr. Rales was able to put down the hurt onto the Corki, so has picked up a very small advance, just a couple minions, but we'll see if that grows into a bigger one as that lane develops. Mid lane, Godbro up against Godzuki now in his mid lane with this Diana versus Cassiopeia matchup. However, does have the Moonfall. Impaler looking to follow up. Doesn't actually get in range for it. So Kozku gets away there. Doesn't even have to burn a summoner. Yeah,
Kozku didn't use too much from that, but also Impaler just didn't commit. As soon as the wave kind of crossed in front of him, he had two options. Could have flashed the wave to body slam over and make sure they got the hit onto Cassiopeia, but didn't opt to do it. Impaler's going to look for a different lane to try and get some pressure down, but he is still on a ward. And they're actually going to get a decent recall timing here, as he will spot him backing away.
Okay, Wicked does not manage to get the disrupt on to the backing Impaler, but in this mid lane, once again, there is the CS advantage that we kind of expected from the matchup, with the 10 CS advantage to Kozku. Betong is able to pick up that pink ward, and there's not too much that Godzuki can do about it, being out of mana and out of everything else that would push away Swajani. He's just going to sit there. He's just going to start zoning away Godbro. And he has to just kind of deal with that. And
this is one way, actually, that they can really start to snowball this Jinx if, or once the teleports become available from Ex Nihilo. Basically, Ex Nihilo know now that they will have the numbers advantage in every fight if both teleports are available. You can just put all 5 people down in the bottom lane, look to snowball Jinx, take turrets from it, and get ahead that way. I'm looking for them to do that once they hit level 6 on both top and mid lane, and I feel like Godbro's going to look to back away fairly soon. Problem is, now Kozku's just going to shove the wave up and force Godbro to lose a lot of experience here if he does look to back off, or force him to use the teleport to return to lane, at which point you lose that numbers advantage.
Yeah, that could be the possibility here in that mid lane and bot lane now, with this 2v2 still keeping up basically even. Mr. Rales is just trying to keep CSing as best he can. Noxiac has noticed that ward going down, but these lanes, there's been a little bit of interaction, but overall there has been an 800 gold advantage now over to Denial. That's literally all been built up over CS in the top lane, jungle, and mid lane. So that's pretty interesting to see just from the laning in the first 6 minutes. Usually you don't see a gold advantage open up that big.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't, but this game certainly going to be a tough one for Ex Nihilo if they can't get bot lane snowballing. We've already seen the difference in top lane. And interesting, actually, that Xaxis has opted for the Hecarim into the Gnar. This may very well be the game, though, where we see the Frozen Heart style, Frozen Mallet style on Gnar, because you just basically get the attack speed debuff. Oh, Wicked got it anyway, as Impaler tried to get in there. But yeah, you get the Frozen Mallet, you slow down the Hecarim, you prevent him from really ever engaging on you, and you just have a lot of damage and tankiness when you jump into the fight as well. So interested to see Wicked's build path as this game continues.
Yeah, we do also have to remember that the scaling is going to be over to the side of Ex Nihilo, at least in terms of the AD carry. There is a Cassiopeia to contest that as we get later into this game, but it's this game will really start accelerating as we reach mid-game as well, because that's when the Hecarim will start coming in, when we see more teleports as well.
And Cosq is going to be the victim of Godbro's engages later on. If Godbro can get onto Cosq, you basically remove the later game threat from Denial, and the fact that Cosq has opted for the Ignite for extra kills to get himself ahead could punish him. I know it is fairly standard to go Ignite, but a defensive summoner against Diana tends to work out fairly well in your favor. Thing to note, Godbro used his teleport to get back to lane, so it's not going to be available for a little while longer.
Yeah, but this is still a teleport on the map from Zaz's, so we'll have to still keep track of that top lane teleport. But Wicked has used his own, in fact, it looked like, to get back to lane. So the teleport advantage is still actually over to Ex Nihilo if they can utilize that. Mr. Alice and Wendelbo have been pretty much just pushed up to their turret constantly in this bottom lane, so it may not be used down there, but the home guards have been picked up by Zaz's, so the possibility to use a home guard teleport play is there.
Yeah, Zaz's has opted for Ignite himself, not looking for the Cinder Hulk build, using Smite. So this is something we've seen a couple of times recently again, but supports are going at it in the bottom lane. Noxiac seemed to come off worse for wear with that, but he hasn't actually backed yet himself.
Yeah, it looked like he was just freezing the way for Chewed Up, and Wendelbo was trying to disrupt that, and he was able to sidestep the Howling Gale.
And here's the moment where we have to see how patient Chewed Up is with this. And you can see he's actually being very patient. He's just taking the farm as it's last hitting. He's not shoving because he knows he's alone. And this is a bit of a change here, because I was watching some of their CS qualifier games so far. They've been less patient with regards to their management of who is backing when, who is pushing when, and they've stepped forwards at times where they've been punished for it. But this time, I'm glad to see that for Ex Nihilo, they're reading the game a lot better.
Yeah, definitely more controlled from the little that we've seen so far from these guys. Oh, Impaler though from the top side, immediately with the flash into the body slam, and this looks like to be a dead Ralez for first blood, but action in the top lane as well. Wicked on the one-on-one versus Zaz's is able to burn the ultimate away from him. A 1-for-1 in terms of those ults, but Wicked actually used his own flash as well.
Impaler says, Ralez, you remember me from Super Hot Crew. Here's a cask of my Super Hot Brew.
Oh,
and blows Ralez back for first blood. And that's going to be the tower going down as well. And I imagine they'll look to go out towards the dragon here. This is a great start for Ex Nihilo. As honestly, they had a big item spike here with this BF sword against the Sheen. They knew if they catch Mr. Ralez out, he's a very easy pickup, and Wendelbo was nowhere near for him. And that's what we were talking about, could have been one of the problems for Ex Nihilo, is stepping forward in lane when you can't. Great flash gank, but it's top lane. Zaz is in trouble.
Zaz is in the top lane, steps way too far forward, and Betong is there to punish him. Lands the ultimate, just a matter of time before he goes down, just trying to collect as many minions before he bites the dust.
Good read from Denial, though, knowing that the ultimate was not available to get out. And this is one of the biggest problems that we actually saw Roccat face in previous weeks of the LCS, is when Steve was playing Hecarim, he would push forward, not have his ultimate, not have a flash, and end up just getting ganked and easily taken down. This time it was a bit of an awkward play, but Denial end up picking it up, and it took them a little while, but that's a good kill onto Wicked in this top lane.
And Chewed Up is actually tapping into this top lane now. We'll be going for that 2-on-1 and lane swapping the Zaz's into the bottom lane rather, try and get that solo lane farm. And
I like this play. You know that you don't really have to show your bottom lane because Dragon has just been done. You know you just took that, so there's no reason to put them mid for now. Cassiopeia will clear it through, so put them in the top lane for a moment. Push down another tower, get the global gold, and then look to put them in the middle lane. What this will do, however, is put a lot of pressure onto Zaz's being in the 1v2. And you can see that Betong Yoke is actually coming down to this bottom lane as well to show himself. So Ex Nihilo cannot let this tower go down for free, or at least give anything more from it, unless they can get something else on the map.
Oh, did manage to sweep out that bottom brush. It looks like Betong Yako with the rest of his bot lane will be pushing in this tower, and there's not a whole lot that Zazas can do about it as he's completely by himself, but Ex Nihilo will be pushing up the top lane with those 3 members themselves. Yeah,
they at least need to shove this in and make it bounce so Wicked can't sit it just with the wave in front of his turret and kill all of the momentum that Ex Nihilo would have been building. And if Wicked stays here, he's building Rage Bar, so Ex Nihilo should not dive this, but they can get damage on the turret. That is about all they should be looking for here.
Well, with the recent changes, Jinx can't just murderize a turret this early into the game as much as she used to, but still does a bunch of damage to them. Kozq moving in from the mid lane, he's pretty damn strong right now, along with his jungler and top laner. And this 3-on-3 was enough to secure the red buff for the jungler. So after all of that, Ex Nihilo basically just got a bit of damage on top turret.
Yeah, which they'll be happy with for now. I mean, again, they have a Jinx who's going to be able to push towers down fairly quickly. Denial are still in the lead, though. The tower lead is in favor of Ex Nihilo, but with extra CS in the top and mid lane. Actually, let's take another look, because the mid lane has been fairly quiet for a while. Still a big lead. 35 CS between Denial and Ex Nihilo in that middle lane is most of where the gold lead differs. Both on about the same itemization, but Godbro has to be careful here because there's a lot of pressure around his lane. Look at this, just sitting underneath the mid lane. If Godbro goes for that cannon minion, he may very well be taken out, but very smartly hits it with that Crescent sweep and will back out of there.
Took that out. So, Wendelbow here will be taking out that pink ward there. Interesting enough, he's only played Fresh so far, so this is actually his first game on a different champion. Should be Janna this time around. We'll be protecting Rallis. This was actually a first pick by them as well, so interesting to see how much value it will offer as we move throughout the game. So far, it's done a good job as protecting Rallis to a certain extent. He did die that once, but Wendelbow wasn't there to protect him.
Rallis is not playing this particularly safely, and actually Denial have not cleared out a pink that has been there from Ex Nihilo in the bottom side of the river. It's been there for a long time, and Rallis pushed all the way past it with both teleports from Ex Nihilo being available. A little bit lucky that they didn't actually pull the trigger and look to go for that, but with Dragon not being available yet, another couple of minutes on that as it does just come up with that 2-minute timer. You don't want to use those teleports preemptively unless you know you can get enough to get the Dragon from it. It's a little too far out for now.
Yeah, the death timers are not 2 minutes long, so luckily Mr. Alice was safe right there. And taking a look at items now as well. Godzuki in the mid lane has finished up his Abyssal Scepter to Kozq's Abyssal Scepter as well, so matching that. Snap. Top lane, do have Wicked now completing his Frozen Mallet, so it looks like we will have that build with maybe even the Black Cleaver to follow as well for that one-on-one.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether Wicked goes down that route, but certainly it is as expected from Wicked in this matchup. We talking a little bit about how that attack speed debuff really just slows Zazas down to movement speed debuff. Sorry, if you'll excuse my...
It's like everything I knew was wrong.
Yeah, everything is wrong. It's okay. I mean, you know, it could do that as well. Who knows? But yeah, the movement speed debuff. I'm pretty sure I said attack speed debuff earlier, and people will probably be tweeting me already for that. But I'll get to that after the series. Because Ex Nihilo, finally, this is the play that they I was talking about that they should be doing about now. Happening about now, because they move their bottom lane into the middle lane, push down this turret. It reduces the ability for Denial to actually fight around Dragon, but Kozq and Betong is enough here to show themselves and stop the push. So Ex Nihilo are getting stalled out a touch.
Just a little. With 30 seconds now remaining on that Dragon for the second one of the game. We'll see who can set up the proper vision for it. Denial's trying to get a lot of that down. Ex Nihilo really hasn't set up too much vision around the area. They still have that pink ward that you mentioned before, which could be a great teleporting point for Zazas and even Godzuki. But apart from that, they don't have direct vision over the Dragon, which could hurt them if they want to keep up these Dragons. They're in a decent spot if they want to try and contest. There's pretty much no reason why they wouldn't want to.
For now, there isn't. Wicked is building his Narbar at the same time, though, so Zazas knows that if he teleports, Wicked is going to be fast to follow him. I think Ex Nihilo right now, they're just going to look to push the middle lane instead. Try and get damage down onto that turret. The problem is, look at how fast Denial are peeling back away from the Dragon. You've got to kite and go up into the jungle. That is exactly where Ex Nihilo go, and they may very well find Wicked here. Wicked is about to expire from Meganar, so they should know they should be able to take this fight a little bit better, but Impaler may have been caught out.
Oh, he uses the explosive casket, will blast everyone away from him, so he will get away from this one at the expense of his ultimate. Just a little bit greedy trying to take those Raptors.
But they're buying time. Look at bottom lane. Godbro is pushing down there on that Diana. This is a very old tactic, Season 3 Diana split push tactic. Using that passive for herself, every third strike is going to deal a lot of magic damage to that tower, but not itemizing for it. This is not the old Diana build. This is what you'd expect from a Diana that is going to look to team fight, get into the backline and blow up a Cassiopeia.
The good old days of Nash's 2 first Diana. Taking down those towers super fast. But they already have someone who can do that, and his name is Chewed Up in this game. So still sitting on that Jinx, pretty even on farm with his counterpart of Rales. Has the Infinity Edge as well, and building towards his second item, probably looking for the static shift most likely. Top lane do have Betong Yoka, looking for a gank perhaps onto Zaz's, as Zaz does have his ultimate. Of course, didn't run flash this game, as Hecarim does not. But yeah, we'll be backing away. A little too far forwards for him to go for it.
One thing that Ex Nihilo can always be looking for is who's in a side lane, who's not with the opponent, the opposing team. Because with running this double teleport, if somebody like a Cassiopeia shows bottom lane, and you can see that somebody somewhere else on the map is out of position, nobody was at that point, but it's just an interesting thing to talk about is Ex Nihilo can just pull that trigger straight away. Is somebody with no teleport in a side lane? If yes, go. If not, don't go.
Like it's a flow chart.
Very easy to decipher, and generally it'll mean they will always have the numbers advantage if they pick smart fights, which is going to be difficult for Denial to fight around. But the thing that Denial have to do at that point is start the fights faster than Ex Nihilo can actually react. If Wicked and the rest of Denial have a numbers advantage themselves, if they can get straight in there with a Sejuani ultimate and Nah follow up, the fight's already over. It doesn't matter who teleports in.
Yeah, that'll be how they'll be approaching these fights for sure. Meanwhile, Impaler in this top lane, sitting in that tri-brush, looking for Zazas to try and bait out Wicked, but he's taking a lot of damage. 2 procs of the Hyper will drop him low already, down to 50%. He actually opts to start backing off. Impaler is still actually waiting up there. And now we'll just walk in and take out this farm. But now he's alone completely, and now with Betong Yoka heading into this one, there's the teleport. He will have the teleport home guard. Not entirely certain if they want to go for the 2-on-2. It would take a long time for either of the 2-on-2 to kill each other.
2 versus 2 not opted for, but they do save the turret. Mid lane, Godbro is here. Good knockup from Wendelboe.
Oh yeah, but it is a nice glitter lance onto both of those players, and there's the Crescent Strike landing. Follow up with the rocket as well from Chewed Up, but Godzuki did not pull the trigger and come in with the full damage from Lunar Rush, so they weren't able to take him out.
That could have been a lot worse for Denial. A really nice Howling Gale from Wendelboe to deny that engage coming out from Ex Nihilo. They did have it somewhat warded, but Betong Yoka, oh, he's a bit caught out here.
He's a bit caught out. All he wanted was the Merc Wolves, and Impaler will interrupt that with Noxiac and Chewed Up and take him out. Kozq will turn around, the flash away from the ultimate from Kozq. Impaler will walk out alive.
Just great flash timing back out over the wall. And meanwhile, again, I'm just keeping my eyes on Godbro down in this bottom lane, is just constantly pushing and pushing. And Denial, they keep sending Cassiopeia down to clear it, and then Godbro backs away and just goes as soon as they see Cassiopeia back mid. It's a very obnoxious kind of setup that Ex Nihilo are doing here, is they're just trying to shove out and get as much as they can from that bottom lane. But one thing they haven't accounted for really is the fact that Wicked is able to 1v1 Zazas up in this top lane and did take the tower down at the same time.
Yeah, that's a constant bit of pressure from Denial in this game that Ex Nihilo are going to have to deal with at some point. But the teleport plays will start hopefully counteracting that. But talking about teleport plays, Zazas has already used his teleport, so it's going to be a while before he can use that one. Taking a look at item build once again, Mr. Alice has finished his Trinity Force, had that one for a while now. Of course, gone for the Sorcerer's Boots, for the spellcast, extra damage. Mid lane now still building just bits and bobs, but has picked up the needlessly large rod. So Denial are pretty strong when it comes to a head-on engagement with the items they've built up. Be interesting to see if they do go for that, as we do have Dragon on the horizon with 1 minute to go. Yeah,
this is Denial's time to fight. You look at the Trinity Force spike we were talking about. Wicked, I have a feeling, is sat on quite a lot of gold. Yes, he is. He's sat on a lot of gold. Currently on 2,800 gold.
That is a lot of gold.
Inventory. So he needs to back. He is backing now. Is he going to go for that Black Cleaver route, or is he going to go for full tank? Straight up buys the Black Cleaver. Goes with the longsword he had is in his inventory. But
I was going to say, that is enough. So
it is enough. And that is going to make that 1v1 between Wicked and Xaxus so much more difficult for Ex Nihilo to actually compete with. And it means that every time Ex Nihilo really want to fight, they're going to be fighting with a Xaxus that's half health or less.
Yeah, unless he's already gone back, at which point Wicked's taken your turret. So
yeah, exactly. He's either defending against Wicked and half health, or Wicked's taking objectives, and that's not really something that Ex Nihilo can really deal with.
Well, with 9 seconds to go onto this dragon, we will have these two teams coming head to head, and the gold is absolutely even. The dragons are completely even. The towers are not, but we'll ignore that. And we are setting up for this fight. We'll see how this one works out.
And we spoke about how this is a lot of LCS players, and we were expecting maybe Ex Nihilo to be a little more rough around the edges coming into this. They're looking okay against Denial, but Denial have taken this dragon very quickly, and now Impaler might be caught.
He's caught in this dragon pit. Fish in the barrel. He'll be going down. Xaxus from the top side lights a great ultimate onto 3 players. Shoot Up is still laying down the damage. Wicked gets on top of him though. Lands the ultimate, lands the wallop, and now Xaxus and Godzuki trying to do what they can to get out of here. Oh, the flash into the Arctic Assault turns around the devastating charge, but it's just not quite enough damage to deal damage to the Battle Boar, and he will run away with the kill, twirling the flail in victory.
And we talked about it, if Denial can get the fight started before everybody from Ex Nihilo can arrive, then it's certain to go in their favor, and Godbro was not in that fight from the beginning. Xaxus was able to run down for it, but just the amount of time that it took Godbro to get there as a damage source was too much. Now he wants to go aggressive onto Wicked. That is not a fight that you want with Mr. Rales there as well.
Ooh. Or maybe it is. What? Or maybe he'll just kill him. That works.
Maybe he will. Okay, I was expecting Wicked to transform and have a lot of health and then kind of just stand there, but okay, Godbro proves me wrong. But let's take another look at this fight as it started. Godbro was in the top lane, split pushing down. This was as Impaler got caught out. Godbro stayed to take the turret, and that's what took him so long. All in all, this actually ends up pretty good for Ex Nihilo as they get an inner turret and they manage to take the fight. Yes, Dragon went over to Denial, but then Godbro manages to take down Wicked after this fight. So all in all, we're going to see where Godbro proved me wrong again.
All right.
Here we go. Wicked was like 2 rage away from
he was not
actually getting that.
Well, he thought he was going to survive. We thought he was going to survive. The only person who knew he was dead was Godbro in that situation, and he made sure he did. And he's going to turn the attention onto Baron. I've seen this one before
This
today.
is an Impaler classic. This truly is an Impaler special, yeah. It's, you know, about 25 minutes in, game's kind of even.
Yep. Oh, you're kidding.
Let's take Baron. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's something from kind of... from knowing Impaler for a long time, you'd be surprised how often it pays off. You used to manage a team with him on, and they'd do this like every single game. And I was just like, no, this is not going to work. And again, it would work. Every, like, 8 out of 10 games, it would work out. And I'm like, how do you just have this timing? I'll just go for Baron. The thing is, you see him do it on LCS. Teams like Coast, teams like Super Hot Crew before they were MYM. It doesn't work if your opponents have good vision control of the Baron pit. If you have pink wards around the area to deny your opponents from actually doing a quick Baron. But this game, it certainly has worked, and that actually makes this double teleport composition very difficult for Denial to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the last team fight definitely went in favor of Denial, but in terms of the objectives that were taken, Ex Nihilo came out ahead. Now they have the Baron, so pretty much no matter what happens, they are on the driver's seat and they are able to start pushing in these towers. They have a pretty good sieging composition as well, so they're literally just going to play for that. And now the ball is really in the court of Ex Nihilo. They may be stalled out here though, so Coscu can clear out fairly quickly. So they are stalling out a little bit, but that Baron, they are looking to take something from it, but mid tower is kind of stalling out.
Yeah, it's there's the Baroned up cannon minion though, from a distance, dealing a lot of damage. Big stack in the top wave pushing in. The 1v1 between Xaxus and Wicked now has the Baroned up minions, which are harder for Wicked to clear. You can see they're all stacking up in front of him. Now Wicked's going to transform, and this kind of gives Ex Nihilo a good timer on when they can push up, because they now know that Wicked, once this expires, is not going to be able to really have too much impact on a team fight. But Denial still wanting to push forward all the time with this. Somebody's going to have to go deal with that top wave, and it is going to be Mr. Rales.
Yeah, there's another wave now coming in, but I'm not sure if it's going to quite hit in time. Rales is going to come back into the mid lane, just doing enough to the top wave, so it's not going to take the turret, but at the same time is there to defend. So I'm not sure if Ex Nihilo can quite take down the turret. Oh, well, they can if Impela goes for the initiate. All of it onto 3 players. Follow up with Zaz's ultimate as well, and Denial is just getting shattered with Wicked off to the side. He's going to be locked down by the zap from Chewed Up as well. There's the double kill from Zaz's. Middle turret goes down, pushing into this middle inhibitor turret as well, and they should be able to pick it up. There's not too much Rales can do by himself, plus this inhibitor should be going down. Ex Nihilo, what an engage.
What an amazing ultimate. Just flash body slams all the way through into the backline. Ex Nihilo are going to try and finish this off.
And Godbro jumping right onto Rales, trying to do a little bit more damage. The minion wave has run dry, however. And Hecarim, unfortunately, Zaz's was not so lucky, not able to get out. And the rest of the team will be backing away here. So that was a pretty good push.
Yeah, 2 towers and an inhibitor. I want to see this engage again, because the foresight from Impala, they had the slow on Cosq, nice flash body slam, even got the cask slam down onto the head first. But look at how strong that engage, just completely fragmented Denial off here. Great Sejuani ultimate though, during the fight from Betong Yoke. Really locked down Chewed Up, but there was no damage to follow up. Wicked again couldn't get himself into Meganar form fast enough. And meanwhile, Oktoberfest certainly has come to a close.
Yeah, I just drank a little too much and keeled over, unfortunately. But either way, Denial will have taken that one to the bank, and with that kill, they should be able to pick up Dragon as well. That was actually perfectly timed. So mid turret goes down, Dragon is now spawning in 5 seconds, and there is no jungler to smile it away. Is there anything that Ex Nihilo can do on the map while that's happening? Not particularly. They can secure a little bit of vision around Baron, perhaps.
50 seconds in the slammer is too much for Ex Nihilo to contest this dragon, and this is going to be a problem if they give away too many dragons. Now Denial are at 3. If this goes another 6 minutes and they get 4, Denial are still very much so in contention. This is a really close game when you look at it. Now the Baron buff is about to wear off from Ex Nihilo. They be quiet, sneaking, and at that point they have to get themselves another inhib tower or set of inhib towers. Oh, Wicked!
No, that's not the bush you want to go into. Moonfall comes out, has to flash away, gets hit up by the zap. There's still the ultimate to follow from Chewed Up. Not quite enough damage with the shielding coming in. Wicked does manage to survive, just barely. But with that pressure, are able to push into this top turret.
Seemingly Wicked role-playing the dinosaur skin because his vision was based on movement at that point, but wasn't quite enough for Ex Nihilo to keep pushing in, but it's enough to stall them out, give them a back timing now to try and get some items, perhaps. Although, saying that, Godbro just backed away to go to bottom lane, so he's just catching the wave bottom, didn't have enough gold really for any items after backing previously. So again, this is Ex Nihilo taking their foot off the accelerator for a second, and it's not too much of a problem for them, because they still have that mid inhib being down and should just about stay down for Baron, but still they need to get that bottom inner tower down sometime soon.
So Talisman just got picked up by Noxiac, so none of the team members currently have a Righteous Glory, so they still have a way in and out of a fight a little bit faster. So Betong Yoka is sitting right on top of his own pink ward and just waiting for people to walk away from him so he can take that ward himself. Baron is spawning in 1 minute, so either of these teams could potentially contest that. In terms of a straight-up fight, Denial are not particularly that far behind. They have a great front line. Cosq does a lot of damage right now. He's on 3 items. He has the Saracen Brace fully stacked. He's actually been farming super well throughout this game. Rales, again, just been farming super well, has those 2 big items on his way to the Infinity Edge. So in terms of a straight-on fight, Denial are not in bad shape. It's just such good initiation so far from Ex Nihilo, who have really secured them the fights.
And they've been fighting around the Gnar ultimate not being available as well, is one of the biggest factors. Is Wicked just hasn't been able to get into the fight with his ultimate up. And it's one of the things we questioned is, he's played so much Malphite and Hecarim. Champions where your ultimate is always available, regardless of you know, you don't have another form to be in. Whereas there's a lot of balancing to be done on this, and although he hasn't had a bad game, he's certainly been 1v1ing Xaxis. When it comes to a team fight impact, Xaxis has been showing up huge.
And we also asked that question as well. Will Xaxis be able to use Hecarim effectively against better teams now in the EUCS, particularly against DNL, who've looked so strong, 1 in the qualifiers, 2 in the ladder? And so far he has. He's done a fantastic job. His ultimates have been on point. Great follows up on top of Impaler. Godbro, though, in this one-on-one against Wicked, is able to get down the damage, looking for the cooldowns, waiting for it to happen. There's a Crescent Strike in with the Lunar Rush once again. We'll be hitting the Zhonya's button. We'll be cancelling that aggro from the turret. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, a full-blown fight has opened up. Chewed Up is being locked out by Betong Yoka, but there is no one to follow up. Koski has to flash over the wall, lands the ultimate onto 2, but it's not quite enough damage. There's the ultimate coming through from Chewed Up. Again, doesn't really find its mark. Godbro now teleports into the fight, but he's already chunked from Wicked, and that was a 2-0 over to Denial.
This time, the engage tools just didn't quite line up for Ex Nihilo. Godbro teleports into the fight a little bit later than he needed to, and Wicked wasn't even in that fight himself. Now Denial could look to turn towards the Baron. They have good solo, good single target damage when you look at a Cassiopeia, and Corki has a fair amount of damage himself, now has a Black Blade of the Ruined King, so they could look to do this Baron fairly quickly. We know Impaler has used his ultimate already, so they're going to look to burst this one down, but Impaler is known for his smite steals. Can he get in there and smite it away? We can't quite see the Baron health right now, and Cosq is zoning away. It's already gone down to Denial, so they will take that one for themselves.
Baron health is 0, and Denial have taken that one away. 1 minute 40 until we see the next dragon, but we are going to see that mid-fight once again.
So watch for Impaler's ultimate. It ults the carries back away from the fight. Now Ex Nihilo have no ability to deal any damage to the carries that are up on the ledge. Great flash ultimate. Look how it caught both Impaler and Noxiac and slowed Chewed Up enough for the damage to come from Rales and force him back out of the fight. Only now does Godbro appear, and this is right after him kind of fighting with Wicked down in the bottom lane. And Godbro isn't able to do all that much and will end up falling in that fight.
Yeah, just a little too late to the party and died. Denial are now setting up for this dragon here. There's a large minion wave pushing in the top lane for them as well, so someone's going to have to deal with that. And it looks like it's got Godbro's name written all over it. Interesting, as he does not actually have teleport. No, he's going to pick up the blue buff, and Xaxis will be taking it. That makes a lot more sense. And 40 seconds to this dragon. Complete control over to D now. They also have the Baron buff as well, so they're constantly going to be pushing in these minion waves. And
you can see how much of an impact the engage tools in these fights is having. The fight that got Ex Nihilo the inhibitor stemmed from the good engage from Impaler. This time, the engage isn't so great, and Denial take the Baron, they take the fight, and they're probably going to get this next dragon as well, because there's not too much that Ex Nihilo can actually do. Look at the big wave pushing in top, you already mentioned it. Now Xaxis is going to have to go and clear that. There's a couple of wards out for Ex Nihilo that are behind where Denial will be in the dragon pit, but the rest of Ex Nihilo can't cross their own jungle. Denial have already cleared out the entire jungle of Ex Nihilo, so they know pretty much where Denial are right now, and this is very smart. Only showing 2 people at dragon means that Ex Nihilo can not really afford to push in. There's no real way of them contesting this, and that's dragon number 4 going over to Denial.
Yeah, real smart play from Denial there. Even if Ex Nihilo did try and contest, there was a Cassiopeia ready to petrify and gaze them in the face. So nicely played there, and this has just been an incredibly close game. Before, we saw Ex Nihilo pushing basically onto the Nexus, under the Nexus turrets. Now the game has completely swung around once again, and Denial have picked up the Baron. They're now pressuring for the 5th Dragon. When that comes up in a couple minutes, this game has had so many swings back and forth.
And I wonder whether stepping towards the Nexus turrets was a bit of the undoing for Ex Nihilo, because rather than rotating out, looking for bottom lane tower, looking for more. Yeah. Maybe for the top lane tower as well, or instead of. Maybe they could have got a little bit more from that, or at least backed in a safer spot and timing to get vision control when they get back out onto the Rift. I wonder whether that was the step that has kind of put them on the back foot, because Denial ever since have just been taking command of the map. Every time somebody shoves a wave up, Wicked just clears it out, and is ready to teleport into a fight. And they haven't even need him to TP, and they still won the last fight.
Well, it's just like you were talking about before about how they've looked so far in the qualifiers. We're just going a little too far forwards. I mean, a lot of that was in lane before, but now we're seeing it on a big macro scale with the rest of the game, where maybe they're just overstepping a little bit. Definitely Impaler in mid lane, as we came back from the replay, just saw him lying dead in the mid lane, was just a little too greedy. So Ex Nihilo kind of just need to sometimes cut their winnings and just go back and make sure they stay on top of those winnings.
And it's a very interesting point that you kind of raise now, is we're on a macro level here for the later stages of this game. Is we have a former LCS shot caller for multiple teams in Impaler. And on the other side, if you assume that jungle is the one making a lot of the calls here, Betang Yoke has not had that kind of experience, and yet Denial seem to be moving around the map a little bit smoother than Ex Nihilo right now. It's saying that it's still a very even game, but it's very interesting to see that potentially somebody who might be calling the shots is having an effect better than perhaps an LCS play, but it is still so close.
Yeah. No matter how the shot calling has worked out, the game is essentially even, so the teams definitely have been pulling their weight in that capacity. So still, DNL are able to pressure for that 5th dragon, but more importantly, Ex Nihilo have that on their minds, and they are pressuring the bottom turret. This is kind of the last, not so much of a bastion, but the last inner turret for sure. And they're not even able to take it. Denial were able to mobilize.
One thing that I will say that is a benefit to both of these teams, as opposed to our first series of the day, is I feel like both teams are being active. Neither team is being passive in this game and just sitting back and letting the other team do whatever they want and try and play a defensive game. Even with offensive comps like we saw Mao's kind of doing, is both teams jungler intervention. You've seen lanes just kind of teleporting in, looking for ganks. It's something we didn't see out of Mao's against Team Dignitas, and this time around, it's part of the reason why this is a close game, is because every time Ex Nihilo have gotten a little bit of a lead, Denial have taken something else. And at this point, it's actually starting to come back around and may very well backfire on Ex Nihilo, is they let too many dragons go when they couldn't fight them, sacrificing them to pick up turrets.
Yeah, I think that's so important to clarify, that every time a team has taken something, the other team has taken something else.
Yeah.
And even if that's not as big of a prize, if it's just like, oh, we took a blue buff for the dragon, something was still taken. And yeah, dragons are traded for objectives, going full circle. Denial will see what they can do with it.
And at this point, Denial can sit back and say, our strategic objective game plan here is just get 5th dragon. That's all we need, because it's going to win us the fight. As soon as this 5th dragon comes up, Denial should have the power, if they don't already, with CosQ being very well farmed and having a lot of items. The 5th dragon alone should win them this fight. Wicked's gonna get blasted back.
I'm not sure about that. Just jumping over the wall with the hop, and that's a 1-minute death timer as well. It'd be great if Ex Nihilo can take anything off the back of that.
They can rush down middle for the inhib here, and they should look to back off towards the Baron. Yes, there's a teleport, but 50 seconds on the death timer from Wicked. 13 seconds on the Baron. If Ex Nihilo don't look like they can push in here, which this is a lot smart, you can see Impaler already heading for the Baron pit himself. This should be enough to just offset that 5th dragon objective here for Denial.
Yeah, that small misstep from Wicked may have just started to cause a landslide for Denial, or rather against them. CosQ just took a lot of damage from that Q, Godzuki.
Level advantage here, though, on Sejuani. Betang Yoke could look for a steal here. Impaler is only level 16. He has to ult him away from the wall as they get low.
Can he upset the King of Smites? Well, all of the bruisers jump over the wall to try and stop him, and the rest of the carriers are able to take it away. Betang Yoke was not getting near that Baron.
No, but interestingly, Impaler flashed back into the Baron pit to smite it down. Didn't even get the smite, though. It was chewed up that picked it. Was Wicked just, like, trying to, like, jump up at the fence and look at what was over the wall? Because that's a dangerous play. That right there is just something that should never be done. Look at how there's no wards in this area.
Yeah, I can't see any tactical advances that would give. Oh, teamfight erupting in the mid lane. Great ultimate by Cosq. Lands onto 3 players. Zazas now comes in with the onslaught of shadows into the back lines. Great ultimate from Betong. Will be locking down those 2 players. Noxiac drops low. Chewed-up caught up in the maelstrom. And Betong Yoka is still leading the charge. That's 2 kills onto 2 big carries. And can they go deeper? Can they pick up more?
And look at the timing of this. The only thing they need from this is the dragon. And it's a good fight from DNL. We didn't quite catch how it started, but Impaler is going to have to get onto the map very quickly. A teleport coming through from Godbro. See if he can get into this to try and get in there before they get this dragon.
Well, he's coming in hot, and Mr. Rales is low, so Cosq preemptively hits the Zonias. You have no way of getting out of this one, but that was a ludicrous use. He got the reset, though. He can't jump back on top of Rales. There it comes in with the double. Godbro coming in big. Wicked now going for the 1-on-1. Comes out with a Pale Cascade. It's still alive. Just ticked down from the red buff. Now Wicked going in for this 1-on-2. He's got a Hurricane, and he's dealing damage to both of them.
They've done enough, though. This is enough from Ex Nihilo to stop the dragon attempt. That was all they needed to do. I hope we get to see the start of this fight. Yes, we do. Right. Godbro just completely destroys Wendelbow, but look at the positioning from that ultimate from Cosq. It hit 3 perfectly. Even with Zazis into the backline here, the cleanup is just too much. And look at this ult. Smashes down onto Chewed-up. Yes, Noxiac had the Mikhails to get Chewed-up out of there, but it was a little too, it was too little too late at that point, and Chewed-up landed good damage, but from here, DNL, they couldn't quite take that dragon, but in the corner of your screen now, right in the middle, Ex Nihilo are taking the dragon and delaying this 5th dragon power spike from DNL for another 6 minutes.
Okay, very nice. Ex Nihilo will be delaying that, and that was a very explosive last fight, and a lot of things happened in the last, like, 3 minutes alone. Bottom turret eventually goes down, people just tanking enough. This is so far into this game now. 43 minutes in, slight advances in terms of gold over to Ex Nihilo. More importantly, delayed that dragon. They've got a big advances in terms of the base objectives they picked up. Remember that middle inhibitor is still down. But after all of that, so many items got picked up as well. Even a Hurricane now picked up by Wicked.
Yeah, so Runan's Hurricane picked up by Wicked. We know Wicked is one to kind of be a bit of an oddball with his Trinity Force Malphite and stuff that tends to work in solo queue. I don't know how I feel about this. Yes, you're going to get extra damage, but you're not anywhere near as tanky as you could be.
So I feel like the theory on this one is because you already have 2 items which apply debuffs on hit. Now going with the Runans as well, it means you're going to be getting the on-hit onto 3 targets at once. So you're slowing 3 people and you're reducing 3 people's armor, which opens it up for Rales. Like, I feel like that may be the theory here.
It may very well. The on-hit is...
I don't dislike it.
I want to see how the rest of this game plays out, because it makes Wicked so much more reliant on being in his ultimate form for being tanky. He has got a Hex Drink and a Warden's Mail on top of it, so I'm not... it's just different.
Yeah.
I haven't made my mind up on it yet. It's just... this is the first time I've really seen the Hurricane, and I'm a bit...
I'm going to discuss this with Deficient. He's going to shake his head at me just when we had that top Nautilus discussion, but we'll see.
I'm tentative on the Hurricane. We'll see if it wins him the game.
We will. I know that hop over the wall didn't, for sure.
Like, let's be real. He dealt a lot of damage in mini form in that last fight, when, honestly, it looked like he was already dead.
And that's important to note. When he's in Mega Gnar form, Hurricane does nothing.
Yeah.
Because he attacks slower, because of how the form change works, and he's melee range, so it doesn't hit more than 1 person. So this is only for when he's in Mini Gnar. Yeah. But that adds value, because Denial in a lot of these fights, Wicked hasn't been Mega Gnar first, he's been Mini Gnar.
It also is going to allow them to clear waves a little bit faster. I mean, I'm not going to go too far to say that,
it's starting to stretch a little bit here, I think.
Well, like, legitimately, you're against a double teleport team that has picked up 2 Barons. And there's, we've already seen that Denial's game plan is put Wicked in the solo lane, clear it out because you need Cosq with the rest of the team. So it will help slightly in that respect, but yeah, again, maybe that is stretching a little bit.
I like it. Okay, so Tudor as well in the bot lane has picked up his Mikuro Scimitar as well as his defensive item, which also doubles up as more damage. But he is pretty much full item build, and by pretty much I mean he is. He's got literally everything. He is critical mass of Jinx. He is late game Jinx. Mid lane though, there's a little bit more room for growth for Kozq. He's been landing some great ultimates this game. But we can start Fear crafting as much as we want. Both teams have a lot of damage. Both teams have a lot of CC. It's just about what they do with it, how they can get these initiations down. And what's going to be the catalyst for the next fight as well, because Inhibitor's up now, Baron's going to be up in a minute, there's lots of things to fight over.
Well, Ex Nihilo are constantly pushing, their teleports are available again, so you would assume they would have map control for the Baron once it comes up, but they still have to sweep out a couple of wards that are around the place. Sweeper's not quite available yet. That's one of the issues with a lot of people being close to 6 items is the inability to buy pink wards, especially when you've got 2 upgraded yellow trinkets to the regular wards, not the pink wards.
Yeah.
Is you're unable to really control vision as effectively as you would like. So at this point, Ex Nihilo have got to be very careful on where they use their sweepers.
Yeah, Denial, definitely in terms of vision control, are getting a little choked out. They only have a couple wards, and most of them in the bottom side of their jungle, not particularly useful. But talking about that now, placing down a bunch around this Baron area. We'll be spawning in around 15 seconds. This is important if they can pick up this crab here.
It is, but the other thing is Denial just have to kind of buy time. Dragon is up in 130. Denial, as long as Ex Nihilo don't catch somebody out, don't get a random kill and just take the Baron from it and push before Dragon spawns, Denial may look to trade one objective for the other. And if they can get either objective, it goes in their favor right now. Baron has been started. They know about it. This is dying incredibly quickly right now. No good teleport spot. They've already got the Baron.
Well, it's going to be the full-blown fight now. We're in this Baron pit. Zazas jumps in with the ultimate. Instantly gets popped, though, by the team. Kozq flashes forward, lands the ultimate onto 2, but he'll be going down. Has he done enough damage to Tudor? No, he hasn't. Jumps out of the way of Wicked's ultimate. It will be landing onto the front line, however. Follows up with the damage. Tudor, he's doing so much. Beton jumps onto him, but there's no damage behind him. Ralaz can't get a raid because Godzuki's on his face, but he's able to jump after him, land a fast bomb for the kill. Tudor with the one-on-one against Ralaz. Ralaz comes out on top, says, sit down, I'm the LCS player here. We'll be jumping after Noxiac and Impaler. Can they get away from this? Do get the slowdown onto the Corki, and now Janna is able to get in range, but not quite enough to land the CC. After all of that fight, now that the dust has settled, a 3-for-3, Baron went over to Denial, but more importantly, 10 seconds until this Dragon. Can Impaler and Noxiac deal with this? They might be in range in time. Yeah,
they may very well be in range. This is still Mr. Rallis here, but I want to focus this fight on Shoot-Up's positioning for most of this fight. Kozq gets damage on him from here. He actually is not doing a lot and has to come back into this fight, but it's the Shoot-Up positioning that I want to keep track of here. Look at how he's kiting back this entire time. Yes, he's taking a lot of damage, but he's life-stealing so much of it. Great flash away from Wicked, but the problem for Shoot-Up here is he drops vision onto Mr. Rallis as they push forward up the ledge, or at least I think he does. There's no ward up here for Mr. Rallis. He doesn't have full vision, and Mr. Rallis just turns around with a phosphorus bomb, but Mr. Rallis is caught out again.
They really wanted that Dragon. There's the Monsoon trying to keep Mr. Rallis alive. It might be enough as he gets the lifesteal on Impaler, but Zazas shuts him down with the Rampage. Wicked now, he's slowing everyone around him with the Hurricane, and Zazas is going to find it hard to get away. He does cut the vision. Wicked a little too slow on getting the vision with his own ward, and now this Dragon might be going over to Denial.
5.
This will be going over. 5 Dragons now onto Denial. Ooh. Jinx Rocket slides on by. Not going to be there on time. No Echo in this game.
Baron buff now on a couple of members, and 5th Dragon for Denial. I think it's 1 member of Denial still has Baron buff on them. It's maybe a couple more. Wicked still has it, I think. But that is going to be very difficult for Ex Nihilo to deal with. They have a fair amount of wave clear when it comes to Jinx. But aside from that, they now have to just stop the flow, stop the onslaught here from Denial, and I don't know whether it's enough to do here. Ex Nihilo have fought so well up until this point against Denial, but Denial have just, again, every single time there's been a fight that has looked to gone one team's way, the other seems to have picked up more from it.
It's also worth noting, at 51 minutes into the game, if a team fight goes one way or the other, the game will end.
Yes. Yeah, it's basically
but yes, you're absolutely right. The advantage is now over to DNL with those 5 dragons. Haven't particularly mobilized, though. They haven't really grouped up and said, we're going to fight now. It looks like Ex Nihilo is waiting for them to arrive, but no one's really doing it just yet. Wicked is in this top lane. He's actually recalling, so they're not in a hurry to start a fight.
Well, this is the first time that Ex Nihilo will have to play the receptive team.
This is the right play here, Stress.
Yeah, maybe. But this is the first time they've had to play the receptive team, where it's Denial that are pushing into them. Ex Nihilo have been pushing every wave, every lane, fairly well up until this point in the game. But again, Denial have only got a certain amount of time. If you're Ex Nihilo and you can just clear these first few waves and eat a minute off this Baron timer, you already know about a minute has passed now at least anyway. Well, actually, Baron's about to expire, so the 5th dragon. You can just wait for it to expire. And as long as you don't lose an inhib off it, or even an inhib turret, if you can hold your inhib turrets, you should be fine to just make the same play again.
Now, DNL's play will be to head into this bot lane here. There is a large minion wave amassing, so they should be able to take this one out. But again, it's not real lasting damage that's going to finish out a game.
This is fine for Ex Nihilo. As long as nobody dies, Ex Nihilo will sit just behind the turret as presence and then back away as the wave pushes up.
Quickly.
Yeah, it dies very quickly, but Baron buff is expired now. So now Chewed just swaps to the rocket launcher, and look at these waves die just in front of them. They have to be careful for an ultimate coming from Sejuani. Ow, ow, wow, okay, that's a lot of tower damage. They can't really afford for that to happen and again. But now it's not a big wave that's coming in towards them. Now it's only going to be a regular wave, probably with a cannon minion. So Denial have to back away.
And the dragon buff is gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Denial will back off there. They did get a bunch of damage onto the bottom lane that will slowly regenerate, but it will take half a century for it to be back to full health. But Denial, yes, they took a little bit off that, but it wasn't a fatal blow by any means. And now Ex Nihilo, they're able to now contest the Baron. They can contest the next dragon. The field is wide open once again.
The only thing that isn't wide open is the ability for Ex Nihilo to ward. So it's on Denial to now stop the wards being placed around this Baron within this 1 minute 20 before it spawns. That really is going to be the key focus for Denial for the next minute or so.
Yeah, Vision is the name of the game. Honestly, Denial, I've never felt that their vision control is completely smothered all over Ex Nihilo. It's been in the places it needs to be, but it's been like conservative. It hasn't been like, we have the advantage now, push up and put our wards everywhere. And right now you can just see a couple wards in the bottom jungle, a couple wards in the top jungle, one at Baron. It's definitely not everywhere, but of course there are a lot of sweepers, and this is late game.
Yeah, a lot of it is they've got 3 sweepers rather than an upgraded yellow, which is fine for controlling vision like this. You can see them pushing in. They can get rid of most of the Ex Nihilo wards here, and it makes it very difficult now for Ex Nihilo to push forward. Now all of the Baron wards have gone. This is what they needed to do. And now it's basically down to just the blue trinket coming out from Chewed Up. So Denial have to basically call Ex Nihilo's bluff. Or Ex Nihilo have to call Denial's bluff. If Denial go in towards Baron and commit fully, Ex Nihilo just push mid if they don't want to contest the Baron. Which, if Denial finish the Baron quickly with Cassiopeia, like they should, it backfires on Ex Nihilo. Because then they're caught with Denial between them and their base, and they're out of the base. Or Denial peel off, and we go back to this Baron dance. And then Ex Nihilo take a fairly straight up 5v5 fight. It's all on the decision making, in Denial right now are holding all of the cards.
Or Wicked hops over the wall and dies.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen again. 40 seconds until Dragon it would be number 6, but number 5 for Denial again. Ex Nihilo are pushing out though. Again, we're in basically a win-win situation for Denial as long as they don't take a bad team fight. They either get the Dragon and get 5, or they take the Baron and get that.
Yeah.
So
either way, this is so late game. This is 56 minutes into the game now, Stress. Chewed Up is past full build. He is now full build. Picked up the double Phantom Dancer instead of boots. So that will mean he doesn't have home guards or anything if they are pushed back. And we are looking like we're starting for a potential fight here. Beton gets
forward.
hit up. Oh, chewed up. That's a little too far forwards. He can't afford to die here. Big ultimate onto the front line here from Zazes. Will be ultimating onto the back line himself. Mr. Ral's coming in with the auto attacks. Noxiak will be backing away. Godzuki jumps into the back. He will be flashing over the wall. Chewed up going in the one-on-one with Kozq. He will be zoning and Zingo. Oh, Mr. Rales! Valkyries right into the face of Chewed up. Ones-on-ones him down. That's a 2-0. And another kill comes out. Make that the 3-0. Double kill for Mr. Rales. The aggressive play may have just secured them the game. Betong Yaku will be leading the charge, taking point as they rush into this base, and the Janna Shield keeps them alive. This might well be the end of the game here, Stress.
Oh, it looked to be win-win for Denial, and it was, because all they needed was that good engage, and Chewed Up was pushing forward, trying to just chip down Denial as much as he possibly could to begin that fight. But this has been an incredibly close game, but one final team fight in favor of Denial has locked in game one of this best of three.
Yeah, the 5 players pushing in here. The flash forwards from Kozq, just trying to pad his stats a little. Will land the ultimate there. Actually gets taken down by Godzuki. Say goodbye to your KDA. Either way, Denial will be finishing up this game, this very first game of this best of 3 here in the qualifier. What an incredible first game to start off this series.
Oh, that was a really, really good close game at this point. Went super, super late game from both of these teams. Tested the macro level decision making, and it all stems from the dragons that were given away by Ex Nihilo to get towers earlier on in the game. It just came back to punish them, because the dragon for Baron trade was always going to be in Denial's favor, whichever way they took it.
Yeah, it would have taken so long for them to catch up on those dragons and make it 4 for 4 dragons, and could have gotten to that stage. But really got to highlight Mr. Rales out of the game as well. 11-2-8. That play at the end of the game where he jumps on the back line onto Noxiak and Chewed Up was fantastic.
He knew that that was all he had to do, because Kozq would just take care of everything else. Mr. Rales showed that even Corki can have late game damage at that point. Normally you'd expect Corki to start to fall off, but if you're only focusing down a Jinx, Phosphorus Bomb and a couple of autos to follow up was enough. But honestly, man, that was one heck of a game.
Yeah, there was so many great plays, so many team fights, and both teams played well. It was just what they decided to go for. We're actually going to take a look at one of the replays from that game. It is Denial actually catching out Ex Nihilo in the mid lane, which results in a 2-0.
Yeah, this was the fight that didn't look so good from Impale. He basically had to ult the carries back to try and get his team out of there, but look at Chewed Up, already caught good Howling Gale again from Wendelbow, and Chewed Up's just forced to fight. The rest of Ex Nihilo just forced into a fight they do not want to take, and this ended up being Denial's first Baron of the game. Very weird to see a game where teams take multiple Barons each at this kind of stage, but man, that was a tough couple of moments for Ex Nihilo and Denial. Those back and forth fights, there was just on a complete knife edge.
Yeah, and I really hope the following games are going to be just like that. That was a fantastic game. I could sit here and talk for hours about that game. I do want to go back to the discussion we had in the game, though. We were talking about Wicked's build. I liked it a lot. But it was Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet, and then the Hurricane to apply the on-hit on multiple people with the slow as well. We saw a couple team fights and that like in full effect. I just wanted to try and get your take on it as we've seen the full game now.
I mean, in this game, it worked.
Yes.
Like I wouldn't begrudge that at all. It's like it served its purpose very well in this game. As a core item on Now, I probably would say not so much. Yeah. But certainly you could see how much damage Wicked was doing, how much disruption in teamfights he was doing as Mini-Na. But it did mean that in Mini-Na, when he was caught out jumping over a wall, not so tanky, wasn't able to survive too much. Yes, that is a sacrifice of Mini-Na anyway. Yeah. Never particularly tanky, but that was, I mean, it was what it was, and it served its purpose very well, that game.
Yeah, I thought Wicked actually played pretty well in that game. Apart from that one blunder in mid lane, jumping over the wall, he did a pretty great job. His ultimates were good, his positioning was good, build was great. So, and also as we follow from that, like neither team were really able to generate like a big lead to close up the game. We got like into the game at super late game was like around 40 minutes, and the gold totals were essentially even.
Yeah.
I never really felt at any stage in the game the gold totals were really affecting the game in a significant manner. It was more about what was being traded back and forth.
It was the ticking time bomb of Dragon, really.
Yeah.
Just being able to sit on 3 and go, okay, 6 minutes, 4, okay, 6 minutes. Oh, we lost this one, let's wait another. And the fact that Ex Nihilo managed to hold with Baron and 5 dragons onto Denial shows you how close that game was. Because normally that's enough. One of those is enough to close a game. Ex Nihilo held it, but the next time both came up, they were forced into a fight. They couldn't let Denial take either because it would have been too much. And unfortunately, unfortunately for Ex Nihilo, game 1 falls away from them. But that was an incredibly hard-fought battle.
It was indeed. Well, Stress, that is 1 game down, just 1. And while we need to take a quick break, we'll be back faster than Echo can chrono break back to lane.